Let's get back to our team, the Chargers. Always good to talk the Chargers, especially after victory Sunday. So you got the Chargers. Speaking of the Panthers, blew out the Panthers 26-3 with pretty much the same formula from week one. Control both lines of scrimmage, time of possession. Justin Herbert threw for about 130, 140 yards. And then the most surprising, pleasant surprise from the game was Quentin Johnston, 2 touchdowns. The first signs of life out of the first round pick from a year ago for the Chargers. So, what is your biggest takeaways from the week 2 victory against the Panthers?
Yeah, I mean it's tough to have any major takeaways because as we talked about, the Panthers are an absolute dumpster fire, and so I think anybody at this point is beating the brakes off the Panthers. But obviously, in past Chargers teams, we've found a way to play down to the level of our competition, and typically these type of games we don't ever see where it's the game was never like uncomfortable. The game felt in complete control from the first possession, and it never like there was never any like moment of doubt throughout, which is nice and something that I know Charger fans are not used to feeling after all the countless full one score last 2 minutes of the game something crazy happens and they find the most unique way to lose or win or whatever the case may be. So obviously that's the biggest takeaway is that building off of what I was talking about last week is that the Harbaugh culture is continuing to set in and that they're taking care of business against teams that they should take care of business against. Even if the Chargers aren't some elite team, um, they're not one of the worst teams in the league either. And so they should take care of business in these type of games against the worst team in the league. They should be able to go in there and do what they're good at and expose Carolina's weaknesses. And that's exactly what they did. They executed their game plan to a T. They wanted to go in and run the ball down their throats, and that's exactly what they did. I mean, J.K. Dobbins is out here looking amazing. He's literally averaging 10 yards per carry so far this season. Like that is outstanding. I can't remember outside. I mean, this is probably obviously the best running back play we've seen since LT, like through 2 weeks. Like we've had a lot of like mediocre running backs,
Now, we've had
and
good running backs. Chargers
well,
have
we
had
had like I mean,
Ryan Matthews, Melvin Gordon,
mediocre.
had Pro Bowl seasons.
I mean, they had like a one. They would have like a one-off year. Would be like okay, like they had a good season. Like the same thing with Eckler. Like Eckler had a good season, great
Yeah, Austin
season.
Eckler. What are you telling me? He led the league in touchdowns, man.
Yeah, I know they have like a one-off, but like none of those guys were like you wouldn't look at those guys and like, man, these guys are like elite running the football. Like,
I think at some point those years they were elite running backs, bro. The Chargers, they keep a good running back. Keep a good running back.
yeah, maybe. I don't know. I guess that just feels like obviously the way that we're running the ball is different too, where
It's
it's
yeah, we've never been a team.
run first.
Exactly. Yeah, we've always kind of at the end of the day relied on the arm of our quarterback because it's been Philip Rivers, who you knew was going to throw the ball 30 to 35 times a game, and then Herbert, who over the past 4 years have been asked to throw the ball 40 to 45 times a game. So yeah, we've never had it where we're looking like the Ravens when we got Greg Roman, the offensive coordinator from Lamar's MVP season, his first one, and then we know that they ran a lot of 3 tight end sets. There's even some continuity from that because we do got J.K. Dobbins who was in that system. Uh, uh, who's under Gus Edwards who's in that system. Hayden Hurst who was the third tight end in
Center
that system.
Bozeman.
Yeah, so we've got a lot of Ravens DNA throughout this entire roster, which kind of makes it a lot easier to transition into this kind of hard nosed way of playing. But like you said, the biggest thing that because you said there's not a lot to take away from, but you kind of went right into the point that I was going to make is that the Chargers took care of business. Like we spoke about this last week, the Chargers are notorious for uh playing to the competition of whoever is lined up across from them on that day. Like they could take the Chiefs to triple overtime and then the next week be in that same type of intense triple overtime game with your high school's junior varsity team. So the fact that they took care of business and stepped on the Panthers gave them no hope. I think, like I said last week against the Raiders, this is different. We're not beating ourselves. We're not making those mistakes. There's nothing that's saying same old Chargers. Another week, taking care of business in Carolina, a game that in the past we would have made a lot more interesting than it would have had to been, where there've been stupid turnovers or penalties or kind of just not even showing up to play at the beginning, giving up a quick touchdown in the first quarter. Jim Harbaugh has these guys ready to play from the jump. And he's quoted to saying, we're going to see what we're actually made out of against the Steelers. So two and O teams, two teams who they show up. There's no surprise. You know what we want to do. We want to control the line of scrimmage on offense. Want to control the line of scrimmage on defense. Want to throw the ball max 20 to 22 times. Want to rush for over 150 yards, and want to stop the run and get to your quarterback when you do have to pass. So this is going to be pretty much a game of who can impose the will. But I'm talking about the upcoming game, Chargers Steelers Week 3. But I think at the end of the day, it's gonna, because the teams are pretty even. The Wills style of plays are pretty even. It's gonna come down to who has the better quarterback. Like I said when we played the Raiders, we have the better quarterback, so we should win this game.
Yeah, I think we definitely have a strong chance to win this game. I think if but I think Herbert's gonna have to play better than he has through the first 2 weeks. He's gonna have to do a little bit more. Um, I mean, he made that there was like that one pick he threw in that Carolina game that I have no idea what he
Terrible.
was thinking. That
Yeah,
was an awful decision. And there was some off-target throws in that game. Like it was a pretty uncharacteristic characteristic Herbert game outside of like the touchdown he threw to QJ, and there was a few other plays in there that were good plays, but um he's gonna have to play at a much better, higher level because I don't necessarily think that we're gonna be able to run the ball as effectively as we did through the first 2 weeks because Pittsburgh is just a much better defense. They're more well coached. They're on their home field. There's just a lot of factors, and that I think, and with their game planning, they're gonna have more emphasis on stopping our run, knowing how effective it's been through the first 2 weeks. And given the fact that our receivers are still a question mark, even though QJ has played a lot better, he showed a lot last week for finally, and but outside of that, everything else is a little questionable, and even him himself is questionable still. Um, so I think they're gonna emphasize stopping the run. So Herbert's gonna have to put more on his shoulders, I think, a little bit this game, not to the extent that he's had in past years, because defensively, we're playing at a much higher level, and I think we'll be able to hold our own defensively against the Steelers. But there are going to have to be moments in the game where he's going to have to use his legs. He's going to have to make plays. He's going to have to extend plays. Make sure he's wary of T.J. Watt and Highsmith and Cameron Hayward. I mean, they have a lot of guys up front that can cause some
absolutely.
issues in pass protection. So, I think he's going to have a not necessarily he's gonna have to throw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns and all this stuff, but he's gonna have to, make more plays than he's had to do in the first 2 weeks, in my opinion, for the Chargers to be able to win this game. But going back to one other takeaway that came to mind to me also is the lot of how well all of our offseason additions are kind of mixing in, and just the fact that so far, like Joe Ortiz has done a great job of adding guys into the fold who
I think it's
have
Joe
all made
Ortiz.
positive. Huh?
I think it's Joe Ortiz. I think Joel Ortiz is the rapper from Slaughterhouse. Yeah.
Oh, really? I thought it was Horty. I don't know. Whatever, Joe. Whatever your last name is. Shout out to you, man. You've been killing it so far. Every pretty much every addition that he's made and person that he's let go has been the right move. I mean, even when he picked up that Elijah Molden, after preseason ended, Elijah Molden steps in for the injured Alohi Gilman and we don't miss a beat. He literally plays at the level, if not better than Alohi Gilman did. Got the interception, was flying over the field making tackles. So those are things that like stand out to me is that he's finding guys that fit with what Harbaugh wants to do and with what the team wants to do, and those guys are stepping in right away and making instant contributions. Obviously, you got J.K. Dobbins, who's been one of the best, if not the best, running back in the league through 2 weeks. And then you got some offensive line guys. Obviously, Joe Alt's been amazing so far through 2 weeks. Bozeman at center, holding down, replacing Corey Linsley. It was a big loss for us. Um, yeah, and I mean, there's other guys. Obviously, you got some interior guys like that. Puna Ford had an amazing week one.
Beast. Yeah.
Um, yeah, so
Yeah,
Bud
there's
Dupree who has some edge depth. He's played well. Denzel Perryman, bringing that physical linebacker into the fold next to that speed guy that we have in Dayon Henley kind of gives us a nice little 1-2 punch there. They both bring some different elements. Denzel obviously is great stopping the run and filling the gaps in the run and whatnot. While Dayon's more of a sideline to sideline type of linebacker, flies over the field and is able to make more of an impact in coverage. And then even like Christian Fulton, he's looked really good on the outside for us so far through 2 weeks. Um, so yeah, I mean that just stands out to me that so far so good in terms of the moves that the front office and Harbaugh have made so far. We'll hope that continues. If we'll find out just how good this Chargers team is over the next 2 weeks, though.
yeah, you got the Steelers and then Chiefs coming up. No, and like you said, yeah. Um, as far as next week goes, I know that Herbert has the high ankle sprain or something going on. Yeah, because he got rolled up on towards I think the third or fourth quarter, but stayed in there, so probably not practice much this week. But like you were saying, it's just because of the style of play. Like you talked about a couple of throws that made you go like, "What the heck?" That's not Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert's a guy who we've already said is used to throwing 40, 50 times a game. So kind of when you're limited to about 20 throws, kind of your rhythm could be off. If we're a 10 play drive, you're handing the ball off 6, 7 times out of that. And the other two are play action. So we got to kind of see how he adjusts to that. I don't really expect him to. I expect us to be able to run the ball against Steelers. I expect it to be a lot like the Raider game where it was tough in the first half, but we're gonna stick to it. And the more we do stick to the run, the less when we do have to pass, that takes away from the power of the pass rush from guys like T.J. Watt, Highsmith, and then Cam Hayward. So it's just about us kind of sticking to our game plan. And like I said, it's just going to come down to who's going to be winning the line of scrimmage this game. But Herbert's definitely going to have to make a few key throws, convert some third downs. But if Quentin Johnston can emerge to what he was drafted to be, which is a number one receiver, a guy who you can count on to catch 50-50 balls, a guy who you can count on to win one-on-ones on the outside and score 30-yard fade route touchdowns, a guy who can win jump balls, a guy who could catch a drag across the middle and go 16, 20 yards on third down and 6. If he can do that, I like what I saw a lot of our tight ends. I like this. He's huge. I didn't know that he's that big. Pause. I like what I see out of Dobbins, who's looking like the second coming of Maurice Jones-Drew. I like what I see out of McConkey, and then I like Palmer. So it's honest, if QJ can become a number one receiver, then pretty much we got darn near everything we need to make a deep playoff run.
Yeah, I think that's definitely possible. That's a big if. I don't know if he's ready to step into a number one receiving role just yet, based on what I've seen. I mean, obviously the first touchdown was great, winning the one-on-one matchup on the outside against a good corner and JC Horn and being able to track the football and come down with it. Obviously, that's something that's been a big struggle for him so far
Went
in
to
his
go get
career
it.
to this
Yeah.
point.
We went to go get it,
Um,
knocked JC Horn
mhm,
down trying to get that ball.
mhm.
Well, he was supposed to catch it over the shoulder. I want to see him catch a jump ball like this over someone or across the middle like this. Everything has still been within the chest. He's not using his frame, but we'll see as the season goes. If he's can do that, then the sky's the limit for him, man. Just because he's quick at 6'4", 230 pounds. He's very light on his feet. He's fast. Uh, so it's just mental. He's just got to just trust his hands. And I think Herbert, you see how with having a good coach, someone who believes in you, someone who brings that juice, lets you know you're that guy. Like a lot like how Tua was talking about with when Mike McDaniels came into town. You see the what's being poured into him from this whole culture, this team. You can already see it being affected how he's playing on the field. If we could get him playing with confidence, man, I'm telling you the sky's the limit for this team. Just because his size and speed alone, he's an issue.